Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Yay, we're recording. It is Wednesday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I am Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. Of course, we've been skipping the news, so we're not necessarily talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. But tonight's episode, yada, yada, whatever. And we're going to be giving you guys our take on the early fantasy football top 10 rankings by position. And when I say that, I mean we're going to look at the ADP rankings and let you know, whether we think that they got it right or they got it wrong or things to look out for. And as we kind of go through it, delving into it, we might drop some dimes on sleeper picks here or there that we might be interested in that you guys might want to know about, whatever else. All that kind of fun stuff. So, yeah, with all that being said, how's it going there tonight, James?
It's going all right. How's it going with you?
Good, man. I've got like the storm of the century going on behind me, but apparently you can't hear it. So these AirPods are like pretty freaking amazing in that regard.
Yeah, I can't hear it. Like I just saw some lightning in the background, but outside that,
Yes, we've got tornado sirens, flood warnings. Somebody called Noah, asked him to like build an ark. I don't know what's going on now. I think it's too late to build the ark. Like he needed to build it before this happened, but it is what it is. It is what it is. You know, I mean, I'm alone. I have no animals in this house, so they're not calling me anyhow.
yeah, they may be, but you're just fucking ignoring them.
Yeah, you're just like, Ryan, just shut the F up. Let's talk about football. And I'm good with that, James. So, yeah, I mean, I thought we could start by going into Yahoo Fantasy Football. That's our main source, whether you guys use ESPN or, you know, whatever your source is. They're all good. I like Yahoo. We're going to look at the draft analysis and sort it by ADP for all drafts. And that's going to give us our top 10. We're going to start with the tight ends. Let's just go through this list. And, you know, you tell me what you think. I'll tell you what I think, man. How's that sound?
It sounds good. First, I want to say an annoyance out there with sports people that put out figures and statistics that don't know how to fucking do simple math.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay. So apparently the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders are getting a $200 pay increase
Per
on
year?
their 200 per game on their $200 per game salary, but according to ESPN, that's a 400% increase.
Oh, okay.
So fucking learn how to do math if you're going to put statistics out there, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's weird. Is that reflecting back on when they were only getting $50 a game?
Yeah, well, no, 50
because
bucks a
I guess
game.
then I could understand that, but like now you're saying it's 100% increase.
Yeah,
because I think at one point it was only like $50 a game or something, and so now it's up to 200 a game, is what you're telling me, and it's going up to 400 a game.
Apparently, so whatever. That's just an annoyance, and I'm not going to talk about the pro athletes that like can't figure out that 60 miles an hour is the speed limit.
Oh, you're breaking up on me.
100, but saying.
Okay. All right, my man.
Sorry.
No, I think you're back. I think you're back. Yeah.
Go to Yahoo. Do blah 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 blah. Get our ADPs. Get some sources. Talk about it by position.
All right, yeah. So I figured we'd go tight end, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, skip kicker, and defense. You know, that way we're finishing with the quarterback, which is like the most talked about, whatever. Kicker, come on, you know, Justin Tucker's going to be gone anyhow, or is gone, or whatever. And, you know, every other kicker is highly unreliable. And then it's the same with defenses. Yeah, there's teams that are great at defense, but in terms of fantasy defense, it's so hard to predict every year that it's just not worth diving into. I mean, we could talk about, oh, this team brought in these guys or this or that, or, Salah's back with the 49ers, but it doesn't mean it's going to translate to fantasy points. It's not the same as, oh, hey, this tight end had 140, passes to him last year. You could say, oh, well, he might get that again this year, which would mean, hey, he catches X percent, he's going to be a great tight end, right? It's just so much harder to do that with a defense and a kicker.
100% agree.
All right, so tight ends, man. So I'll read it off real quick for anybody who's watching. Here's the Yahoo top 10 by ADP right now, and it's early. This is going to change 2 months from now when people start drafting, but we're doing a super kind of early thing here. So first off, you got Brock Bowers, then you got Trey McBride, George Kittle, Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, down on the list here, Jonnu Smith, Tucker Kraft, and David Njoku. That's your top 10 on Yahoo for ADP right now, my man. What do you think about this list?
So I kind of hate the list. A couple things with the list. Yeah, ADP, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
George Kittle.
And I guess we're not necessarily talking as much about value, but we can kind of mix that in here as we go, I suppose.
So last year, George Kittle averaged 11.1 points per game, and he's number 3 behind Trey McBride.
Oh, no. Where'd you get 11.1? I'm showing 10.6.
Well, that's because I cut it down because I don't give a shit about Week 18.
Oh, so you got custom math. I thought we were sharing the same source here.
Oh, I'll go to the same.
Oh no,
source.
no. All right. I got you. Yeah, you can just go week 1 to week 17. Okay. All right. No,
week 18.
I like that. Yeah, no, that's a good way to do it because you're right. Week 18 is kind of bullshit. That's a good way to scrub the docs. Okay. Kittle had 11.1. Please continue.
Kittle had 11.1.
And we're talking standard scoring.
Yeah. Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, they were right in line, about the same. Jonnu Smith, Mark Andrews were right around the same. Laporta, Ertz, Kelce.
Yeah, Laporta had a drop down. Yep.
But mine was not sorted by average.
Yeah, you need to look at the average here because Taysom Hill doesn't get necessarily put in the tight end category on certain, fantasy football platforms. But if he does, he did have 10 points per game, right? Because he pinch hits at quarterback. Whether that's going to continue, I don't know, because there's a lot obviously changing in New Orleans, and sounds like he's maybe not a part of that picture now. So
yeah, but also if you look at his 10 points a game, then you go to the numbers. It was really in 3 weeks. Like
correct.
He
got lit it up in week 11, right? And because that's 4, the week that he started at quarterback, I'm sure.
Week 4,
or
week
maybe
9,
not actually, but still, yeah.
Week 4, week 9, and week 11. Outside of that, he had less than 5 points per game. He only played in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games last season. And like you said, he's kind of on the out. So I wasn't even going with Taysom Hill as
and we don't have him we don't have him in our top 10 on Yahoo anyhow.
Yeah. So like I can understand why Kelce is so low because Kelce barely got 6 points a game last year. I don't know why. It
was a down year for him, which is probably why a lot of people were speculating he might retire. He's coming back. Said it was like an easy decision to come back. And, the crazy thing is it's like 2 years ago, people were saying that he was losing a step and, expected the stats to drop down. That year, he lit it up. And then all of a sudden this past year, it dipped. And now everybody's like, oh, told you so. He's done. He's cooked. It's over. I don't know, man. I think some of it is just the way the Chiefs have evolved. And I could see it bouncing back again in his favor this year potentially. It just kind of there's too many things to it's so hard to say, man. I mean, they got to solidify the offensive line, they got to solidify the running game, but for Kelsey's sake, they need another wide receiver to step up so that he's not like the focal point from a receiving standpoint. And then I'd expect him to get 1,000 yards again, man.
Yeah, and then like Zach Ertz and Pat Fryermuth being 22 and 23 respectively,
Oh, and
like
ADP?
in ADP, but
Yeah.
like Zach Ertz had 6.3 points per game. He was number 10 points per game, quarter or tight end. If you
I
throw
think he's
Hill out there, but he's not falling out of favor. Freaking what's his McDaniel?
I think he's getting pushed down because they brought in Debo Samuel. And so
But
the expectation is that they've now have so many mouths to feed that Ertz is going to lose maybe some of those touches. And then
yeah,
with Fryermuth on the other end, I think Fryermuth is lagging and needs to come up now that they signed Rodgers. I think that there was some, I think that he was like pushed down too far because they didn't know what the heck was going on at quarterback. And I think both of these will maybe like find a little bit more of an equilibrium between now and the end of August. But that's just my 2 cents on them.
yeah, and that makes sense. With TJ Hawkinson being so high, like that's the reason why
Yeah,
Hawkinson he's being inflated because he has a first year starter at quarterback, and their bread and butter is the tight end,
yeah.
and he's going to get a lot of passes thrown his way, and by all accounts he's coming into the season
And
healthy when
he
last
was
year
coming
he
off,
didn't.
yeah, he was coming off the bad knee last year. People are expecting him to come back a little better this year. You're on it, yeah.
Yeah, Andrews. I think Andrews, like, yeah, he's 6. He's 7.7 points per game last year, but he threw like I just think Andrews' time is kind of done. It seems to me
Yeah,
like
Isaiah Likely's, nipping at his
exactly,
heels. Now, the one
exactly.
thing going for him is that Lamar Jackson still vouches for him. And so, with that going on, I would say he's still probably going to finish in the top 10, but I put him in the bottom half of that. I don't put him in the top half anymore.
Right, but last year Andrews had 2 games that he threw up a goose egg in points, and a top 10 tight end,
Yeah.
in my opinion, fantasy wise, should not be throwing up have 3 games where he average like the average of the 3 games is less than a point a game.
I hear you, man. I fucking hear you. Okay.
With Jonnu Smith, the issue I have with Jonnu Smith
I got to look
is
it up. Is he even? I thought he was holding out, man.
I thought he was 2, and that's where I was going with it.
Yeah, there's talk that he might get traded. Oh, man. The Steelers are connected to him. I just, I don't know why, Miami just, it's, he ended up being a key piece to that offense. They should be trying to commit to him at least for a couple seasons or something, I would think. But I get it. His history is very streaky, and maybe Miami's saying we can't count on that again because in his whole career he's never consistently put it up on the field like that.
Yeah, and then because we're not going to do 2 shows, sleepers and that. The one thing if you look at where, and I want to double check something before I finish this.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's like you get past the top 7, 8 tight ends.
Okay.
There's like no point even. There's no point drafting one. You just like stream them off the waiver wire.
Yeah, 7-8's about a good number. Like, I don't.
And I don't think you're going to nail that 7-8. I think it's like, I think you got like four guys that are your guys. And then it's kind of a crapshoot where you're hoping maybe you get one of the next like four guys that are going to be in that top 7-8. And then from there, it's just anybody's guess. So it's kind of like either get one of those top four guys or just kind of wait and roll the dice, man. And maybe you get one of those guys.
Yeah, and kind of the one I'm kind of eyeing a little bit on this list, and I think he can. They still have Cole Kmet, and I understand that, but I think Colson Loveland could have a
Yeah,
ridiculously great
Laporta like rookie
Laporta
season.
Yes, exactly. Especially with Ben Johnson there, and Johnson likes to
Yeah.
use the tight end like a wide receiver, which is why what I think they drafted Loveland to split out more as a wide receiver than a tight end, and use Kmet more as the traditional tight end where he blocks and catches passes. I think Colson Loveland could have a ridiculously good year if Caleb Williams can find him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I mean, a lot of people think that that's a likely scenario. I like that scenario. He could creep up there for sure. Aside from him at tight end, in terms of a sleeper, I mean, it's watch Isaiah Likely with this Mark Andrews dynamic. Like Likely could creep into that top 10 if Andrews does in fact fall out of favor. But it's gonna, we're gonna need to see it because like last year, Likely lit it up in week 1 and then kind of faded for a while, lit it up again in week 5, and then pretty much faded until like the end of the year where he had a couple nice games again. So it's the talent is definitely there, and you can see he's pushing for it. But Andrews is definitely the incumbent, and it's not like fully given up yet.
Yeah, and another one to look out for is Tyler Higbee.
Oh, I was going the other Tyler, but yes, let's talk about Higbee.
So Higbee missed a lot of last year, and I don't know what his status is going to be, but the
Yeah, that
Rams
offense is retooled.
but I think the Rams could be looking at using the tight end a little bit more than they have in the past.
Sure.
Higbee's put up some big games. He's put up some duds. In 23, if you go back to 23, he put up some big games, put up some duds, but it could be something to where he could thrive in that offense, especially with as Stafford gets more comfortable with him, and they're with the receivers, they're going to be focusing more on them going down the field where there might be openings for Higbee.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And yeah, I was going to go with the other Tyler, which is Tyler Conklin.
Mm-hmm.
I like his move from the Jets to the Chargers because they have a need at receiver. And, we've seen him in the past show the potential as a receiver at tight end. It didn't work out like the way I was hoping last year with Rodgers, but, some of that is just like, Rodgers historically has, minus like the 1 year with Robert Tonyan, is not like consistently hit the tight end up. And so, I think Herbert could utilize him more. I know that the Chargers are going to be a run first offense, but still, I think that is going to benefit his situation. Does it take him from the 25th in average points up to the top 10? Probably not. But, could he be somewhere in that 10 to 15 range and give you some value if your guy falters? Yeah. And I think week in and week out, he could be a good streamer kind of guy. So that's one to watch out there.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy that Dalton Kincaid was the 22nd tight end in points per game, and he's sitting at 14 in ADP.
It is and it isn't. I think with the Bills and their offense, they had some what's his face shoeless dude that I think took a lot of the catches that Kincaid would have gotten.
Okay.
I can't think of his name. Shoeless dude.
I'm not sure who you're thinking of, but
he went
that's
to Shoeless Buffalo Bills player. Mac Hollins.
Oh, gotcha.
But I think that offense is looking a little bit different with the weapons they have coming into this year, and he could have a better
more
year
opportunity.
More opportunity to catch the ball.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when I'm just like zooming out on this top 10 ADP, I like Brock Bowers at the top, but I do wonder, will he hold that with the Raiders now? Pete Carroll coming in, things kind of changing there. I like Trey McBride a lot. We know he's Kyler's number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kittle I like a lot, but Kittle is like, he's so night and day in how he plays as a tight end. When you look at him historically, some years he has 1,000 yards receiving and barely any touchdowns. And then other years he has like 700 yards receiving and fucking 10 touchdowns. And so it's like Kittle is like a mixed bag, which makes me a little nervous.
Mm-hmm. but also last year he had a down. I think he was really a down year for him. He started very slow coming into the season. He then the offense then he picked it up. But I think this year they have less weapons at receiver where he could pick up some of that.
Yeah, maybe he's more in line for that 1,000-yard year again.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And I like him in the top 3. From there, I always like Laporta. I think he's a very safe pick. But I think he's the start of that second tier where, you're going to want to draft those guys, but you can't be surprised if they do good or bad because you just never know. And I think that second tier based on this list goes to Kelsey or maybe even Jonnu Smith. And then you got the third tier, Tucker Kraft and Njoku. I like both of those guys. Njoku's got nobody to throw to him, but, because of that, maybe he gets highlighted somehow. It just, it's like after that, I mean, you're talking, these are the last pick of your fantasy draft or the second to last pick, and you're rolling the dice, right? And so, I'm not like balking at this top 10 on ADP too much, man.
Yeah, I would push back on Laporta being like the start of the second tier. I think Laporta is primed for a bounce back year this year.
So you think he's a top tier? So when you say that, do you mean that he should be moved up higher, or that the top tier is 4 tight ends this year?
I think the top tier is 4 tight ends this year.
Okay.
All right.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Yeah.
So
I didn't think about it for a second, but yeah.
Tight ends. You said we're going to running backs next?
I was going to say wide receiver, but yeah, we can go running back because that's, I guess, next up on the list.
I'm flexible to go with wide receiver.
All right, let's do wide receiver. And I got to update my points per game. Wide receiver.
Right.
Go figure. I finally have the top wide receiver on my fantasy team, and I get fizzled out in the first round of the playoffs, but whatever.
So wide receivers, Jamar Chase by ADP, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., AJ Brown.
That's a fucking solid list. I like that.
And Drake London.
Yeah, Drake London, I guess, changes it a little bit for me. I like the top 9. I like the top 9.
I don't like Malik Neighbors in the top 10 this year. He's dealing with a nagging toe injury, and I think it's going to hinder his season a little bit.
Oh, see, that's good to know because he was basically a phenom as a rookie, him and Brian Thomas Jr., right? So, I was expecting that he would at least maintain or even improve off of that. But with this top 10, I would say Drake London, swap him out for either Mike Evans or even Terry McLaurin. I mean, you could even hypothetically put in Tyreek Hill if he's going to bounce back. But man, I'm not sold on Drake London, man. And I want to check his fantasy his fantasy points per game. Where was he at last year?
He was 23 at 9.4 per game. I think.
Yeah, and I know they had the Cousins issues and whatever switching over to Penix, but
his points
not been premier, man. He's just not every year.
But you look at it, from when Cousins was QB to when Penix was QB, his points per game on average dropped.
Yeah, so I mean that supports what I'm saying even more. And I mean, shit, you go to the previous year, he was like fucking, oh my gosh, he was like, where the fuck is he? I just saw him. He was like way down this list. I lost him. 42 the year before. Oh wait, that's not right. Hang on. Oh my gosh, that can't be right.
I also don't know if I like Nico Collins so high. I don't know if I think he should be.
I love Nico Collins.
I like Nico Collins.
51 in points per game in 24 or 23. Man, I can't get on board with fucking Drake London, man.
All right, why the fuck am I not finding?
Look at this. Godwin was 3rd in points per game last year. Why is he not in this top 10?
Was Nico Collins out all year last year?
He missed some time. I don't know how much time he missed, but he missed some time.
Okay. I was looking. I couldn't find him.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. Nico Collins is legit, man. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I like him. I don't know which Nico Collins we're going to get this year.
Yeah, but remember last year, their offense sputtered a lot because of the problems with the offensive line. And they threw like 50 bodies at that problem to try and fix it this year.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, I guess it's not as bad as I thought. So
he's legit, dude. I'm going to make you a Nico Collins fan. He's like
he gave. No, he's legit. He's legit. I'm not saying he's not legit. I just don't know if I trust him and I trust that offense and what they did with the offensive line for him to be able to thrive. Yeah, he did actually. He increased his points per game, but he played 5 less games last year than he did the year before, and it increased by 1.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So let's just, I guess let's look at this. Do you like Jamar Chase on top over Justin Jefferson? I do because of the quarterback situation.
I do. Yeah, I do because of the quarterback situation.
And Chase outperformed him last year anyhow, so it works. Do you like Justin Jefferson over CeeDee Lamb?
Yes.
I'm okay with it, but I think that you got to watch what happens with J.J. McCarthy. Because
you got to watch what happens with J.J. McCarthy, but also
can Dak stay healthy too?
Can Dak stay healthy? And I don't know if I like CeeDee Lamb that high. I think he's closer to 10 than he is to 2. So that's why I would put Jefferson definitely above him. I probably would put Puka Nacua above him.
Above CeeDee Lamb, even though Puka's probably going to get cannibalized a little bit by Devontae Adams this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What about St. Brown? You like him where he's at? I would maybe put Puka Nacua down 1 and Amon St. Brown up 1.
So my concern with Amon-Ra St. Brown coming into this year is going to be the fact on what the offense is going to look like,
Yep.
and there's where my concern is. So I think I would put.
I think he's going to have the production no matter what. And he doesn't have a clear threat for targets like Nakua does. But Nico Collins, to me, he's the wild card of this group.
Mm-hmm.
If their offensive line can protect, I think Nico Collins is the number 3 wide receiver on this list. I would put Brian Thomas Jr. above Malik Neighbors. I think he was better last year. And I think he had, this is like not great to say because it's a shit show either way, but I think, Trevor Lawrence maybe has a higher ceiling than Russ and company. AJ Brown, I think he is what he is. He's a solid top 10 guy. He's not likely to be top 5 or top 3, but he's going to be solid across the course of the year. It's that 10 spot with Drake London. It's like, where do you go there, man? Is this Tyreek Hill bounce back year? Is this Devontae Adams? You've got 2 for the Rams that light it up, and it's like Stafford's last hurrah, which could happen. Terry McLaurin, he's down a couple spots, but the expectation is he's going to get cannibalized by Debo a little bit. Mike Evans a little long in the tooth. Like there's a lot of these guys where it's like, I get it. Drake London's there, but out of all of them, man, you could make the case for so many of these guys. I just would pick like almost anybody other than him.
Yeah, I agree with you. Couple sleepers I see is, and it depends on what version of Aaron Rodgers we get, but
Yeah.
DK Metcalf could be a big time sleeper at 22.
That's true.
I think he could be a top 10, top 15 receiver. I think Courtland Sutton is another one that could, as Bo Nix gets more comfortable, the more is going to go, more sets he's going to get.
Sure.
I think it's weird to say, but Godwin as a sleeper, jeez.
It is weird to say, but
it's because he's coming off the injury.
Yeah, but all right. So he's coming off the injury, right? But he was also before the injury averaging 12.5 points per game, and so if he can come back healthy, I could definitely see him edging out Mike Evans and getting that top 10 spot, and I'd be comfortable with that. But the injury is the wild card.
Yeah,
and I do like T Higgins. T Higgins was 4th in points per game last year, but the problem I have with T Higgins is that it's Cincinnati aired it out last year. I don't know that they're going to do it that way again this year. I think he's going to be good. I just can't count on him to be like top 5 or even top 10 good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, like, what do you think for sleepers at wide receiver, man? I mean, I guess for me, when I look at wide receivers, I see so much value later in the draft that I don't know that I call any of them necessarily sleepers, right? They're just good value picks.
A couple of people that I see as potential sleepers, Cooper Kupp. 7, 8, 39, 40. Debo Samuel and Cooper Kupp, 39 and 40 on the list.
Okay.
10-team league, you're looking at 40. You're looking really at a bench receiver, maybe depending on how your league's set up. 39, 40. Say you play 3 in a flex, so you're looking at a flex there. And I think if you could get I think Debo Samuel's going to put up in Washington with real quarterback Jaden Daniels, and what Cooper Kupp can put up in Seattle. theoretically put up in Seattle, assuming we get last year's version of
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. Another one I see is a little further down the list, Ricky Pearsall. I think Ricky Pearsall's set up to have a big time year. They drafted him really to replace Deebo Samuel.
So what do you think about Jawan Jennings for the 49ers? Because I've seen some sources calling him out as a sleeper pick. And he was kind of boom or bust last year, but you could see that the potential's there. I guess I wonder because, they still have Brandon Ayuk. The expectation is Pearsall's going to get a little better. Can Jawan Jennings actually stabilize? I mean, I'm hard pressed to see it just because he's not ever really been a stable performer, man.
No, I agree there. I think the reason why they're saying that and calling him out is because he's sliding into the number 3 role or the slot role for San Francisco.
Purdy, yeah.
For Brock Purdy, where I think with either Ayuk or Pearsall is going to be number 1 or number 2. So, and the number 3 role in the offense last year when he was back was Pearsall. So that's kind of where I could see him getting a boost. Is it that big of a boost? I don't know.
Now, what do you think about Diggs with the Patriots? Stephon Diggs, he's got an ADP 10th roundish, depending on your source. It seems like that could be a lot of value with how well Drake May played as a rookie last year. The concern, obviously, is he's coming off of that ACL that he suffered in week 8. And then he's got this weird fucking, boating pink powder incident or whatever. We'll see if that even goes anywhere. It sounds like it's a non-issue from the league standpoint, which is weird to me because he was handing it out, not necessarily using it, but it just seems bad overall in terms of player conduct.
It does. I'm hard pressed to see Diggs being a top tier receiver.
Okay, I'm not saying top tier, but I'm saying sleeper pick. He could be tremendous value.
I'm having a hard time seeing him on the Patriots the entire season.
I think that I think I could see an equal probability of him having 1,000 yards receiving
30 seconds.
Is him getting kicked off that fucking team.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like the way that you're giving me that piece and I'm kind of putting the other piece. It's it could equally go one way or the other because he's kind of turned into a bit of a run your mouth kind of diva that's not really putting up the numbers anymore.
Yeah. 15 seconds.
Oh, 15 seconds. All right. 10-minute timeout. I'll talk to you in 10.
All right. Sounds good.
See you. Recording in progress, James.
This meeting is being recorded.
So, yeah, we were kind of wrapping up our wide receivers with some sleeper picks and whatever else. I guess if you're ready, we can jump to the running backs.
All right. So, running back rankings, ADP, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Ashton Genty, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Devon Achane, however you fucking pronounce it.
Yeah, however you say it.
Bucky Irving.
Yes. Yeah, and man, I'm not even sure where to start here. I have to look at the points per game from last year because this list is just kind of I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't surprise me. I guess I'm just not there used to be a time when you would look at the top 10 running backs and you'd be like, this is the fucking list.
So a couple things I see off the bat is I don't like Jonathan Taylor being up here. I also don't like Bucky Irving.
I mean, Bucky Irving did have a really good year last year, and I think the expectation is that he's going to get better. Like, I guess let me look at what the points per game were. Where did Bucky Irving finish? 18. That's a big jump to put him in the top 10 like that. Um, part of my beef, to be honest, is really Derrick Henry at 4, man. I mean, I get it. Barkley fucking lit it up last year. But, Derrick Henry was like almost a 2,000-yard rusher, a touchdown machine. And when you look at his career, the dude has been steady every
Mm-hmm.
fucking year. Barkley, on the other hand, minus his first year with Dable in the Giants, in his first year last year with Philly, has been very fucking inconsistent. And so I just and then McCaffrey, I mean, well, McCaffrey's further down, but I would for sure have Derrick Henry be in the top 2, if not the number 1.
Yeah, that's where I was struggling with that. Um, he is getting a year older. There is a lot of tread, but I mean, he's you're right. He is consistent year in year out. The fear going into last year was he was at the tail end of his career and was going to have a down year. He still averaged 18 points per game. Saquon Barkley had a fucking phenomenal season last year.
Yeah,
There's no way he's going to replicate that.
he'd be hard pressed to do that again.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the year that we were all waiting for with Saquon, and he finally got it. He had a top 5 offensive line. They, Kellen Moore shifted to a run first offense. It all like the stars aligned for him. But, I can see him being a top 5 guy again, but the number 1 guy again, it's hard to ask for a repeat of that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And part of his 20 points per game was he had what, like 21 some hundred yards last year.
Yeah, and I guess and I guess I'm jumping down now, but they're putting Bijan ahead of Jameer because what they're expecting Jameer to lose some of his back to, you know, I,
So I think they're putting
I,
Bijan ahead of
they're
Jameer.
they're they're expecting him to lose some back to the timeshare. I mean,
No, I
I
think
don't
what
know.
it I think what it is Bijan was he a rookie last year or second year?
He was a second year last year. I mean, I just, I get it. David Montgomery got hurt, and that helped Jameer Gibbs get some more fantasy points, whatever. But I kind of feel like he's just getting better and better every year. And Bijan, to me, I mean, even looking at what he did last year, he had like some booms and some busts. He had like week fucking 11, he had 6.3 points. Week 5, he had 7.7 points. Yeah, I get it. It was a pretty goddamn good year overall, but I just for being a featured back, I don't trust that kind of stuff, man.
Yeah, so I think I don't know. I was trying to find a way to defend it. I really can't see a way to defend it at all, besides the fact that maybe the perception is he's going to move more into a timeshare. But if that was the case, then why the fuck is David Montgomery?
I mean, Dave Montgomery was still
20?
like 11th in points per game last year.
Yeah,
So
and David Montgomery is now ADP 20th running
yeah,
back.
I draft him all day. I don't know that we could call him a sleeper, but there's definitely value in David Montgomery.
Yeah, I don't know, because if it was anticipating more of a timeshare, I think Montgomery would be higher up than 20.
All right. What do you think about Genty at 5?
I'm fine with it.
For a rookie,
I've
I mean, you had the Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing. Even Bijan's rookie year, he did not come anywhere close to expectations. It's like I just have a hard time putting a guy in the top 5 right off the bat like that. If he was at like 9, I'd be like, okay, I can get on board with 9. But like with him at 5, you're basically expecting like fucking 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. Like it's a lot to ask of a rookie, man.
Yeah, I hear you, and so I went back and forth because I agree with you. My instant reaction was not liking Bijan or not liking Genty at that
I
high.
put Josh Jacobs at 5. And I probably put a chain there 5, 6. And then I start thinking Genty. And then I start thinking Jonathan Taylor. And then I start thinking McCaffrey. And I even put I like Bucky Irving in that, but I probably put Kyron Williams above Bucky Irving.
No, I would definitely put Kyron Williams above Bucky Irving. That's that
Can
was
James
number
Cook
one.
replicate to get into the top 10? Maybe. Maybe I do that and I bounce out Jonathan Taylor. Because honestly,
So the question with James Cook is if what's going on with his contract situation,
yeah,
if he's going to be in Buffalo this year because he's seeking
yeah.
a contract. Where I have an issue and I'm trying to figure it out is why the fuck is Alvin Kamara so far down?
Well, because they're expecting that offense to be a dud without a
But
quarterback.
the offense was a dud last year without a quarterback, and he still put up top 10 rushing per game.
You have a new coach, new offensive scheme. That's all I can speculate, my man. It's
No, I
I
hear
mean,
you.
he's not down that far, James. He's still in the top 20, man.
I hear you with him being in the top 20 still, but I think he's like I
He's
probably
not a
would
top
put
10 guy, in my opinion. He finished top 10 last year, and it was like a resurgent year for him. He spent a couple years kind of floundering. I'm not expecting him to be the Alvin Kamara of old, man.
I just figured out why he had 14 yards per game or 14 points per game.
Because of week 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking 42 points in one game.
Okay. I need to go help the wife with something real quick. This meeting is
Yeah,
being recorded.
yeah, recording in progress. So yeah, back to the top 10 for running backs and potential sleepers. Yeah, I mean, I have seen a lot of people pushing Chase Brown into the outside of the top 10. I guess I'm not really sure, what else we comment on this other than maybe looking at a couple sleepers. I've seen Javonte Williams now that he's in Dallas. Some
Yeah.
people are saying, hey,
Is
he looked good so
Cal
far.
I didn't hear who you said.
Javonte Williams in Dallas.
I'm hearing a lot of Javonte Williams.
Yeah, people are talking about how good that interior 3 on that offensive line is and how obviously he's got incentive to bounce back after what happened in Denver. So I do like him as a potential guy. My homie over at Walter Football, man, I love this guy. He likes Isaac Guerendo for the 49ers, basically saying, don't bet on McCaffrey and, Guerendo ends up being the guy. And then you've got Tyler Algier with Atlanta. It's hey, Bijan's there. but can he really do what he did again last year, where Algier the year before was like phenomenal fantasy wise? And then another one that I like is Ray Davis in Buffalo. It's if James Cook is potentially on his way out, unless they extend him, you got to believe they're planning on leaning more on Ray Davis, right? Because the plan would then be either ride out James Cook and get rid of him or trade him at some point.
One that kind of surprised.
Oh, I think I lost you. What's that?
No, I had lost you, and then I looked. I was reading something and started talking, and looked, and you were still talking, but I couldn't hear you.
Oh,
on that.
All right.
And one I'm seeing and is making a lot of sense the more I dive into him is Bishop Hutton with the Jaguars.
Yeah, I liked his draft profile. And his combine performance was phenomenal. The only thing I worry about with him is that he's fumbled a bit in his college days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's the concern with him. But I mean, like the more I read, like, and it's true what I read with Etienne basically being lost or being looking like he's washed up already, and they have
you got Tank Bigsby, who did pretty good last year, but he's kind of a hammer of a runner, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see what ends up happening like his in Jacksonville, but I'm seeing he could get a lot of the load. And with what I was saying with Monange is like he looks like he's going to be the second head on that two-headed monster running back with DeAndre Swift and Monange, and plus DeAndre Swift might number one get hurt,
could lose that spot,
could lose that spot.
Because Swift was with Ben Johnson in Detroit just a couple years ago, and Ben Johnson did not like him. Here's the crazy thing. I could see Swift being one of the bigger secrets going into this year, where it could be a combo of like Swift and Roschon Johnson, or I could see Swift falling out and it's Roschon Johnson and Monaghan. It's very hard to predict that for Chicago.
So I think if anything, I think Roschon Johnson is kind of going to fall to the wayside unless Swift is out completely.
I still like Roschon Johnson, but he's got to stay healthy.
Oh, I like Roschon Johnson, but he's got to step it up.
All right.
Yeah, and if you can pick the number 2 guy in that Chicago offense, you can get a lot of value there.
No doubt. All right, my man, you want to move to the quarterbacks?
Yeah, I'm good to move to the quarterbacks. Already know I'm going to fucking hate the rankings, so.
Quarterbacks are, it's tough, right? Because in fantasy football, so much of it kind of revolves around the running game now for a quarterback, because that gives him a safe floor that you can look at so many quarterbacks and be like, I just fucking hate this guy. But yeah, I guess he does run the ball, right? So, yeah, I mean, at the top, you got Josh Allen. Then you got Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray. Basically, the only statue you have on this list is Jared Goff. If we were doing this 15 years ago, it would be the other way around. You'd have maybe 1 or 2 running quarterbacks, and everybody else would be a pocket passer. But nowadays, you got to be mobile to be relevant in fantasy football. And that's why Justin Fields is sitting at 11. And so it's tricky, man. This list is tricky. I think that Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson you can basically lock them up for 1 and 2 for fantasy.
Yeah, I don't like the order, but I agree. 1 and 2 fantasy, Allen, Jackson. I like it Jackson than Allen a little bit more. Um, because with the phenomenal season that Allen had last year, Lamar Jackson still beat him on points per game.
Yeah, he did outperform him by 3 points per game, which is fairly significant. And so I can't balk at that. I don't ever trust Lamar year in and year out. He seems to me like an every other year kind of guy, except he's got a high floor because of the rushing yards, and so
Yeah.
but this could he's getting further into his career, so maybe the odds are he's stabilizing towards the top of his ceiling, which would be really good for him. I think Jalen Hurts at 6, that seems a little bit high to me because
4.
I'm sorry, at 4. I'm saying Jalen Hurts at 4. He was 6 in points per game last year, and so
Right,
4.
but if you look at but I'm going to push back on that, because if you look at his week 16 points, he didn't play that full game, and that's dragging down his points per game.
Yeah, my thing went to week 18 too, so let me just adjust this.
So if you take out week 16 and cut it at week 15, he was at 22 and a half points per game. Because week 16 last year, he didn't.
No, I guess I guess when you put it that way, I do like it. And he did minus, early in the year, he was pretty solid. He had a couple, 12, 13 were down. Man, I mean, a couple of years ago, Jalen Hurts was phenomenal. It seems like now I'm worried about how committed they are to him, especially with Saquon, right? Because they could just hand the goddamn ball off or dump it to him out of the backfield. Of course, if they dump it to him out of the backfield, that helps Jalen Hurts. But I guess what's the alternative, right? With Jalen Hurts at 4, it's maybe you put Burrow above him. Other than that, you got to keep him there because the running ability is going to keep him above Mahomes, going to keep him above Mayfield, above Goff. I mean, It could be like a resurgent year for Kyler Murray, and you get him to the top 5. But even then, I guess you're right. I can't be that aggressive because unless I was going to put Kyler at 4, I can't really drop Jalen Hurts any further, man. You're right.
Yeah, and you said 12, 13 were down. 12 in week 12 they played the Rams. Week 13 they played at Baltimore.
Okay.
And both those were away games. And I wanted to look up to verify.
So Darnold was fucking Darnold. Darnold was 8th last year, and Purdy was 9th in points per game, and then Bo Nix was 10th. Okay. Darnold now.
And looking at it, I was right. I was right about week 16. He had 4 attempts and 3 rushes. So he didn't play that much.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how you shake this list up much, man, to be honest.
So first of all, I don't like Kyler Murray being in the top 10. I don't know who I put in the top 10
it's
outside
because,
of Kyler Murray.
Dude, it's because the expectation is he's going to run more this year. Remember last year he was coming off the knee.
True.
In last year coming off the knee, he was the number 12 in points per game, man. And so now the expectation he's going to be fully healthy. Marvin Harrison Jr., another year in the league. I like Kyler Murray for sure in the top 10. I'm just not sure how high I put him in the top 10.
I don't know. I think I'm also showing my bias against Kyler Murray.
No, and that's fine. That's fine. I mean, it's the running ability that changes it. That's all I'm saying, right? And that's why the top 10 list is 9 guys that can run the ball, or 8 guys. Joe Burrow's he doesn't run much either, but Baker can run, Mahomes can run.
But Mahomes doesn't really run. He can, but he doesn't.
He runs kind of when they design it or when he needs to.
Yeah.
But, it's like, hey, in the playoffs, he'll run all day if he has to. In the regular season, he never needs to because they're just always fucking dominating. But the fact that he can do it, he's going to remain high from a fantasy appeal. And just the name brand of fucking Pat Mahomes, the $500 million man.
Yeah.
I
thought it was
just
more than that, but I thought he got a good. I thought his contract keeps him at X level.
Yeah, I mean, it was 10 years, 500 million, but it also escalates, right? And so
right, it keeps him. He's guaranteed to be in like the top 3 salaries or top 5 salaries for quarterbacks. And
I mean, I guess the question is, could you go crazy? And I guess this would be a sleeper thing. Could you go crazy and put Caleb Williams in the top 10? Can Brock Purdy squeeze back in the top 10? Could Dak Prescott squeeze back in the top 10? Or even Jordan Love? I think the lesson here is that in fantasy football land, don't fucking go and reach for a quarterback because you have arguably 15 or more guys that are suitable QB1s that you just don't know. You need to wait and see. If you want to have a safe floor, yeah, take one of these guys in the top 10 that run the ball a lot, and they'll give you a safe floor week in, week out. If you're looking at season-long overall fantasy points, man, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
So a couple things, and it's really it's the pick of your preference. I don't like Kyler Murray, so I wouldn't put him in the top 10. Maybe put Jordan Love up there, but points per game, Kyler Murray last year had more than Jordan Love. Caleb Williams is going to get a boost from Ben Johnson, but is that boost going to put him in the top 10? I think the 2 players that
it's more sleeper potential than anything, right?
Yeah, and that's where I was going with sleepers. But even like with sleepers, I would go further and I would look at Drake May and CJ Stroud.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I like Drake May as a sleeper, right? And I do think CJ Stroud's going to have a bounce back. God, man, I like so many quarterbacks. I even like Dak Prescott, dude. He was fucking top 5 in fantasy points in 23, man. I mean, it's just like I don't like Dak over like is a quarterback in general, but in fantasy land, I like Dak because that offense could hum. It's like you never know, man. They're going to be pass first, and just I don't know, the quarterback thing. It's like we're finishing on quarterbacks because this is the most talked about thing and like the most important thing. But I'm also here saying that I do believe it's the most diluted position for fantasy this year, where it's just don't reach for a quarterback, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and like worst case scenario, like I mean, like you'll have
if you're if you're gonna reach
round, you'll have Geno Smith available or Cam Ward available.
Yeah. If you're gonna reach, go for Lamar or Josh Allen. Otherwise, just fucking sit back and wait and see who falls to you. Maybe you get around 7, 8, 9, and it's like you don't know who to take it, wide receiver or running back. Maybe that's your chance. You go and take a quarterback. But
I would I would say I would put Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts is you can do a little bit of a reach for them, not too much of a reach, but you still could reach for them because I think they've shown that they are top tier.
sure, yeah,
I
all
mean,
mobile.
Jalen Hurts, your concern he gets hurt. Lamar Jackson, your concern is he gets hurt. Jaden Daniels, your concern is, well, it's year 2, and normally there's the sophomore slump. I don't think he's going to have that. Josh Allen, the concern is
Yeah,
he's
no.
inevitably going to get he's going to inevitably take a step back from last year.
I mean, I think as we're talking it out, man, I think the top four are rock solid, man. I like those guys. I just
Yeah. I also don't like Baker being in the top 10.
Oh, dude, he threw for like 40 fucking touchdowns last year. How can you not have him in the top 10?
But that's also
Because of the change of coordinator?
Changing coordinator. I think the coordinator, got everything he could out of Baker, and I think he's going to take a step back. Maybe not be Baker a la Cleveland, but he's going to take a big step back this year.
So who do you put in there instead of him?
But I don't know. Like, that's where I'm struggling because it's
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love, and I hate to say
Herbert.
this, maybe even Dak in there.
Yeah, Dak for sure could get back into the top 10.
But
when you look at last year's top 10, Bo Nix actually did get into the top 10 last year. So that's fine. I guess I'm good with that. Jordan Love was 13. He's right there. Tua, obviously, it's just a matter of can he fucking stay healthy?
Yeah. But outside of like you said, outside of like those top 4, like I might even.
It's a crapshoot, dude. You just don't know.
It's a crapshoot. You are going to get a lot of consistency from Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And you're going to know that you're going to get 16 points about each week from Patrick Mahomes. But like really outside of the top 4, it's just your preference. Who falls to you? Who falls here? Not taking too much of a reach. Like, like you could reach like a couple spots, like if you're picking number 38, taking a Joe Burrow, if that's what you have there. If you could take a couple spots, but not too much of a reach. If you're looking more than like 4 or 5 spots, there's a player you're passing up that is going to be more consistent for you and a better bet than the quarterback you're picking there, besides putting maybe the top 4.
Yeah, I got you, man. That's all I got to say about that. I don't really know sleeper-wise what else we add to that, man. I mean, it's
one thing I did want to point out, and I don't know how the fuck this is. How is Anthony Richardson number 28?
Well, the expectation is that Daniel Jones is going to start week 1 now, right? Because Richardson's hurt.
Yeah. And Daniel Jones is number 31.
Yeah, the expectation is that Daniel Jones is going to lose the job as soon as Richardson's healthy. And they're just going to go back and forth all year because they're both going to fucking suck.
Actually, scratch that. Outside after that, after the top 30, really, there's not an ADP for them.
I'm actually, it's not that I fucking hate Anthony Richardson. All right. I hate that he pulled himself out of the one game because of his poor conditioning. That really pissed me off. For a mobile quarterback to do that was like a death knell, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But because of that, not because of any other reasons for him, I want to see Daniel Jones, and I guess it's also because I want to see Daniel Jones maybe have like the I can fucking do this year where he's shown the potential. He's just never been able to consistently keep it going. Like that
Mm-hmm.
first year with Dable when he had 700 rushing yards, I thought, man, if he could do that every year, we'd be fine with Daniel Jones. But you're not going to get that out of him every year. Well, maybe this is a year where he's like, I'm going to cut down on the turnovers. I'm going to like steadily mix in my running game, and I'm just going to be a smart game manager passing the ball. And then I'd be like fucking Danny Dimes, just do it, dude. Be like a version of Alex Smith that's just bigger and more physical, like, but it's probably not going to happen, James. It's probably not going to happen.
It's probably not, but I think Richardson. I think Richardson still has a lot of potential. I think the maturity needs to be there, and he needs to show
Yeah.
the maturity before I can get back on board with him. But I'm not completely out on him. But I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not Clyde Edwards-Helaire out on him, but I am out on him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And our viewers don't
he's
understand that, but you do.
he's the mix of Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson, but he's also looking a lot like Jamarcus Russell right now.
Yeah.
It's like if you could put the three of them into a pie, you could say what percentage is he Lamar, Cam, and Jamarcus. It's like, unfortunately, he's a little too much Jamarcus at this point.
Yeah. Like right now he's sitting at like 40% Jamarcus, 30-30.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
He can turn it around. I said right now, if
Yeah.
he shows the maturity,
Yeah, if he got to
then
like 40, 40, 20, in the 20 being Jamarcus, you'd be like, whoa, because those 40, 40 could flash.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd want to see it like 45, 45, where it's like a 90-10 split between the good and the bad. But I mean, he's just got to do something to show us that, hey, you're gonna condition properly, that you don't have to take yourself out of the game, man. I mean, that's unheard of for a quarterback unless you're injured.
No, exactly.
Oh,
So I couldn't believe it when it happened. I still almost don't believe that it actually happened, but
yeah. Yeah, I
it
mean,
did.
as a coach, like I don't think as a coach, I don't think you prepare for that, right? You're like, hey, unless he gets hurt, you're expecting him to run the next play.
Yeah,
He comes
but
running off the field, you're like, wait, what the fuck's going on?
and like at the college level, maybe that flies. But not at the pro level, not when you're making millions of dollars to do one fucking job.
It would still be abnormal at the college level for a quarterback.
It would be abnormal, but I'm saying maybe that flies more at the college level. I'm not saying
Yeah.
normality of it is a different story. Do I think it's normal? Maybe at LSU that's what they had, where that's what they expected of him or whatever. I don't know.
I hear you, man. I hear you. All right. I don't know. It's been a pretty good session, man. What else do you want to hit for tonight?
Oh, we're not going to do the kickers and defense. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh shit, I forgot about kickers.
You forgot about kickers again.
Bring
Kickers
back
is just a crapshoot.
Kickalicious.
Like the number 2 kicker in points per game last year. It's just like this guy played in 4 games. This guy played in 4 games. Top 10 in points per game.
Kickers are very unpredictable. Yeah, Jason Sanders, big leg. Kind Kaimi Fairbairn, he's been one of the better ones. Brandon Aubrey has been phenomenal. Man, but they're so unpredictable. Like last year, Boswell out of nowhere is the number 3 kicker in points per game. Dude, I've been like high on Boswell for like, I don't know, 7, 8 years. In like 6 out of the fucking 8, he's been way low fantasy wise, right? That's the problem, is that you just don't know. They can be great and just not get the opportunities, man.
Yeah, and you're looking for kicker. The piece of advice there is you're really looking for a kicker that's going to get on a team that's going to get to like the 30, maybe
Yeah,
40, maybe the 30-yard line, but
because
not be
field goals are better than touchdowns. Yeah.
not be able to punch it in the end zone. So you're really looking at like Tennessee's kicker, maybe Carolina's kicker if they have a turnaround. Jacksonville's
Carolina's kicker is actually, that's a probably good one. I was going to say Tennessee's maybe not this year, next year, but Carolina's kicker I could see being this year be a good guy to look at. And you get him late because nobody else is really looking at those guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the defenses, man, it's like, what are the odds Denver's going to light it up on defense again? Same thing with Minnesota. I mean,
Denver
Minnesota,
lining it up on defense. I think Denver's defense got better this offseason. So I think they have a huge shot at.
Dude, but this is what I'm saying. Denver arguably got better. Minnesota arguably got better. But the odds of them going 1-2 defense again, it's so rare, dude. It is so fucking rare. Think of all the years that San Francisco was like dominant and then they were like 8th the next year. Or Baltimore, dominant and then like not even in the top 10 next year. But when you look at their stats, NFL wise, they're one of the best defenses. But fantasy wise, they're not. And so it's just the connection between what they do on the field and what they do in fantasy don't always connect for defenses, man. It's the same with Pittsburgh,
100%.
man. Pittsburgh was 4th in defense last year. I can't expect them to do that again this year.
No, not at all. Like I was looking for Baltimore on the list. Like I think Baltimore took a step up.
Look at how Baltimore was 14th in points per game last year.
Yeah, it's all it is it's figuring out defense. Unless you get a surefire top tier defense, which isn't, there's nothing there. You're picking second to last round. That's your kicker and your defense.
Yeah, and do not hesitate to fucking stream them.
Yeah,
because you just don't know
all day.
You just don't know.
Unless
defenses are so unpredictable.
Unless like you have a defense that going in like it's solid week in week out, and getting you huge points week in week out, like then I'm hard pressed. Like if you have like in week 8 they have the bye and you have 7 weeks of solid performances by them, you might want to consider keeping them for coming out of the bye.
Yeah.
But outside that, defense is basically throwaway. I might keep my defense from last year, but
that's a different story. I kept the defense once. I didn't like it, but I did it. That's a whole different story, James, because you're talking about ADP versus, like what rounds you got to keep them in, right? And so if you have value there, you can make an argument to keep a fucking kicker, hypothetically. But, if you got nobody else better, So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
We're actually looking at it. I'm hard pressed to keep my defense from last year.
I mean, I think I'm weak on keepers this year. This is like my first time in a few years that I'm going to be a little bit soft on my keeper options, unfortunately, but that's okay.
Yeah, I have to sit down and look at it.
I could keep Denver because I do have Denver. But
And look at where I pick them. I might keep my quarterback.
yeah,
I might keep Laporta, and possibly if I still have another year keeping him, I might keep Kyron Williams.
all right. Well, for the show's purposes, what do you want to add? Or should we just shut it down and then talk offline?
No, it's about good.
All right. Well, hey, anybody who's still watching, we hope you like the show. Subscribe, please. And
Please
we'll catch you
subscribe,
later.
hit like.
And peace to your mama and however the song goes, your mama and
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.